Hello, everybody. Welcome to Super Breakfast Friends Club.
Sometimes you leave me time to respond, and sometimes you don't, and I never choose correctly.
I think I actually always do, but sometimes I decide earlier to move on.
You don't. Don't act like you do.
You know, people told me off for telling people to stop listening last week, so keep listening. If you're here, if autoplay brought you here, keep listening until the end. And like and subscribe.
And then go listen to all the others.
Become our new parasocial relationships.
We love you.
Wait, we should be their parasocial relationships? Which way does that go?
Yes.
Let's listen to a theme song.
Super Mario, Super Mario, Super Mario World.
Super Mario World, it's a blast from the past. It's Super Mario World, you got to move fast. Mario and Luigi are doing what they can. Yoshi and the princess are giving them a hand.
Super Mario World.
Super Mario World, it's a blast from the past. In Super Mario World, it's a blast.
So, I don't know if you've ever heard me sing this song or sing a reference to this song, but it's basically...
Of course I have.
It's basically been in my head for 30 years, just constantly.
I have never watched this show, but when I heard the theme song, I was like, I've heard this before.
Yeah, because I was always singing it. Like, always singing it.
You're singing it at me in the dead of night. It's 3 a.m. I'm tired. I'm trying to find my phone. I pick it up, and all I hear is Super Mario.
There's something about it. I don't know if it's a good song, but it's a song that just lives in me, like Mufasa.
Mm-hmm.
Super Mario World is a game that released in winter 1990 for the Super Nintendo. It was a launch title for the Super Nintendo, but it only launched in Japan in winter 1990. The US got it in summer 1991, and over here in Buttland, we got it in summer 1992.
Wow.
That's a big part of why the Mega Drive outsold the Super Nintendo in the UK, because it took them so long to bring games to us.
Because it didn't have any games on it. What are you supposed to do with it?
Yeah, and then there's Sega releasing games like the same month worldwide. So they just kind of steamrolled Nintendo over here for a while. Not for the Game Boy, though. The Game Gear never quite gained a foothold against the Game Boy.
No. R.I.P. Game Gear.
R.I.P. batteries.
I told you that ours, like the connection cord wasn't good anymore, so my dad MacGyvered these 2 wooden blocks to keep it steady, because if it wiggled at all, your game would just shut off.
Oh, that's adorable. If that was my parents, it would have been in the trash. So the game was made by Nintendo EAD, who made the previous Mario games and the Zelda games and Pikmin and Animal Crossing and Mario Kart. And it was the best-selling game of all time on the Super Nintendo.
Super Mario World is so good.
It is very good. It's my favorite. I don't know if it's my favorite Super Nintendo game, but it's always the first one I come back to. I think I like Yoshi's Island more, but Mario World is easier to just pick up and play for a while than Yoshi's Island is, I think.
And it has so many secrets to keep you coming back.
It sure does. And I think I have found all 99 exits on, like, every platform Super Mario World is available on. The game was directed by Takashi Tezuka, who has worked on the Mario series since the first Super Mario Bros. He also wrote the story for the first 2 Zelda games and continues to work as a supervisor mostly for the Mario, Zelda, and Yoshi games. He was most recently a creative executive on the Mario movie that just came out. Should we say something about the movie? I saw the movie last week, and that's what made me decide that we were doing this show this week.
That's what made me decide to tell you that we were doing this show this week.
Did you? How did that go down? What's the behind the scenes? Because I don't remember.
You just asked if I had a preference, and I said maybe we should do Mario, because You had mentioned maybe doing it the week before, but you're like, no, that's too current. So I was like, it's been a whole week. Now is the time.
That's right. That is what happened. And then I said, Mario World is the one we do.
That is the one.
The game's art was directed by Shigefumi Hino, who also created Yoshi. He went on to direct Yoshi's Island. I didn't know that the creator of Yoshi also directed that game.
Nor did I.
He apparently chose the hand-drawn style of Yoshi's Island as a direct response to the pre-rendered graphics of Donkey Kong Country. And I always preferred the style of Yoshi's Island, personally.
I like them both for different reasons.
Not me! I really don't like pre-rendered sprites. I have a real thing against them, I always have.
Well, I just like Donkey Kong, so shut up.
Hey, Donkey Kong Country is great for its music, and I am not trying to disparage Donkey Kong Country, I just don't like the look.
Rude. But for its time, Donkey Kong Country, I thought, was great.
I'll agree with that. It was groundbreaking. I'm not trying to say it wasn't.
You just think it's ugly and it's stupid and you hate everything about it.
Yeah, just that. So Hino has gone on to co-direct the Pikmin games, and he did planning and game design for the Mario Maker games as well. So all these people are still there, still at Nintendo.
Good for them.
I think there's a lot to be said for Nintendo's ability to retain staff.
Yeah.
Because Sega sure don't have that problem.
Hopefully that speaks well of the work culture.
I would think so. I know I read, because Japan in general is pretty bad for work culture and like people staying all night in the office. I read somewhere that Nintendo actually like locks its doors at night so that staff can't do that.
Well, what if the staff is inside when they lock the doors? Then they can't get out.
I don't know. I guess they got to trick them. They got to pull a fire drill to get everyone out.
They just put a delicious donut underneath of a cardboard box being propped up with a stick.
So, work on Super Mario World began as an improved port of Super Mario Bros. 3 to new hardware. I don't know if it was ever intended to release as that. It sounded like it was just kind of an experiment. But as the developers were working on this Mario Bros. 3 port, they felt like the improvements didn't make the game feel new enough. And Miyamoto said he decided it was better to create a new game from scratch.
Good idea.
Because of the increased power of the Super Nintendo, they had more freedom creatively. But they were getting used to developer tools that were still actively being developed. Because the console wasn't out yet.
Mm-hmm.
So they were more free and yet hampered, I guess. But Miyamoto had wanted Mario to ride a horse ever since Super Mario Bros. 1. And could never get it to work. Until now.
I just want to see the universe where Yoshi is a horse.
I don't know if he was ever a horse at any point in development. I don't think there were any horse Yoshi sprites in that massive leak of Nintendo stuff. Because there were a lot of early Yoshi sprites where he looked very different. But I don't think he was ever so different that he was a horse. But when they established the setting of the game as being a world of dinosaurs, they decided to make Yoshi's rideable friend a dinosaur too.
Yoshi's rideable friend?
I meant to say Mario's rideable friend.
Who's Yoshi's friend? Birdo?
Are you saying that Yoshi rides Birdo?
I wasn't. You put that thought in everyone's head and you should be ashamed.
You named Birdo as Yoshi's rideable friend.
I was just thinking of Yoshi's friends.
Yoshi's rideable friend is Poochie. Thank you very much.
Oh yeah, Poochie's pretty great.
Yeah, you ride him across the spikes.
And he's just so happy to be there.
I read a lot of articles in the course of researching this that claimed that Super Mario World was rushed to market to compete with Sonic the Hedgehog because Sega had briefly captured the market worldwide with the Mega Drive. That timeline doesn't seem right to me because Super Mario World released in Japan in late 1990, and Sonic wouldn't come out for like another 6 months. So I don't think that Sonic the Hedgehog was responsible for any rushing that Super Mario World might have done.
Are you telling me the internet's telling a fib?
Yeah, again.
It's never fibbed before. Why would it start now?
So I think it's more likely that the Mega Drive surpassed the NES just because it was a fancier, more powerful piece of hardware. Because by that point, the NES had been out for quite some time. And the Mega Drive came out 2 years before the Super Nintendo, so it had a bit of a head start on 16-bit games. But then the Super Nintendo came along and was more powerful than the Mega Drive, so...
But it didn't have the crunchiest sound chip.
Right? There's such an ongoing internet debate about whether the Super Nintendo or the Mega Drive had better sound. And I think it's very dependent on the style of music that's being used.
True.
When you wanted your music to sound like realistic instruments, I think the Super Nintendo did it better. But when it comes to like square waves and techno sound, I think the Mega Drive does it a little bit better on that front.
Does it a lot of bit better.
I think Earthworm Jim sounded better on the Mega Drive.
I think pretty much everything sounds better on the Mega Drive.
Do you?
Not that I've listened to every single song, but anytime I'm listening to a soundtrack that released on both the Mega Drive and the Super Nintendo, it always sounds better on the Mega Drive.
I think it's going to depend a lot on how you feel about chiptunes in general, because you and me, we're big chiptune fans, aren't we? So
yes,
I would definitely say if you want something that sounds chiptuney, the Mega Drive is going to have you covered. But I think there's a lot of people who prefer more real sounding instruments, and they're probably the ones who are
wrong.
Yeah, they're the ones who are gonna prefer the Super Nintendo. I don't think every song sounds good like that. I was listening to the Bart's Nightmare soundtrack a couple weeks ago for reasons possibly related to this show. And I think some songs sound better on the Super Nintendo, but some songs sound better on the Mega Drive. The main theme sounds better on the Mega Drive, I think.
All I'm saying is that Cool Spot is the metric by which I measure quality in my life, and it doesn't even compare between the Mega Drive and the Super Nintendo.
Also, I think a big part of it is what the music was designed for originally, and I'm pretty sure that the Cool Spot soundtrack was designed for the Mega Drive. I think Cool Spot came out on the Mega Drive first and then got ported. The game was developed and published by Virgin Games for the Mega Drive / Genesis and Super Nintendo, but it doesn't say which one first. Oh, here we go. The Mega Drive version came out in April 1993 and the Super Nintendo one came out in September. So yes, it was made for the Mega Drive and then ported to the Super Nintendo. And that explains it. That's why the Mega Drive version sounds better. It's the same story with Earthworm Jim, who I think a lot of the same people worked on. Yeah, David Perry, Mike Dietz, Tommy Tallarico. You know what I found out?
What?
In 2010, Miyamoto did an interview with USA Today, and he was asked what his favorite Mario game is. And he said it was Super Mario World.
Good choice.
Good choice. It might be my favorite.
I think it's mine too.
It's definitely the one I go back to the most. I think it's fair to say Super Mario World is my favorite 2D Mario game. But if you want to ask me about 3D ones, I might give it to Mario Odyssey.
I don't dislike Mario Odyssey, but I don't know. I never quite got the hype.
No, but I don't think you played it that much, did you?
I got pretty far.
For me, Mario Odyssey, Mario Sunshine, and Mario 3D World are like the 3D ones I go back to the most. Although saying that, I have finished Mario 64 more times than any of the others.
Well, Mario 64 is classic.
Mario 64 is a solid groundwork from which the others built.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only 3D Mario game I've ever been disappointed by is Mario Galaxy, but then the second one I thought was a lot better. And they didn't put it on that collection because they hate
I was
me.
just about to ask if they're ever going to port it to the Switch, because that's the only way I can play it at this point.
Yeah, hopefully someday we will get GameCube and Wii games on the Nintendo Online membership, but we'll see.
Or not even that. Like, another collection. I will pay money to play it.
You shouldn't. That first collection wasn't good enough, in my opinion.
The first collection had Super Mario Sunshine, your favorite.
It did, but they messed up the controls.
Oh, well, I don't know anything about the controls.
No, see, the problem is, on the GameCube, the shoulder buttons, you can, like, squeeze them in slowly before they click fully.
Mm-hmm.
And by, like, squeezing them in just a little bit, you can control the pressure of the water.
Mm-hmm.
And if you squeeze them in just slightly, you can actually run around while spraying. And I don't remember exactly how they handled it on the Switch, but the Switch doesn't have that, like, pressure-based shoulder buttons. Mm-hmm. So they had to work around it. I can't remember what they did, but it wasn't good enough, in my opinion.
I get where you're coming from, but at the same time, that's a technical limitation that they had no choice in.
I know, but...
It's not like Majora's Mask, where they made it impossible to swim as a Zora.
True.
Just for no reason.
Listen, I just want to play my GameCube, and nothing's stopping me from doing that, but I'm still going to complain. I still have my GameCube. It's still hooked up to the TV, but I'm going to complain that I can't also do the same thing on the Switch, which is equally as accessible as the GameCube is.
Well, you can whine and complain all you want. I want Mario Galaxy 2 on my Switch.
That's the one with Yoshi.
I want it. I need it.
I know you do. I'll just come over here and play. I've got it on the Wii. Come over here and play it.
Okay, I'll be over in 10 minutes.
Okay.
I gotta put my pants on.
Wait, we gotta do this show.
Oh, dang it, I forgot.
Yeah, alright. I had to edit down the episode I sent Mel to watch this week because there was an unwanted stowaway in our Super Mario
I don't know
world.
what you're referring to.
So I actually only sent you half of the full episode as it existed. But I think I left in enough remnants of what the other half was for you to tell what it would have been.
Was it Captain N, the Game Master?
It was Captain N, the Game Master.
When I got picked to be Game Master, I couldn't believe I was really in Videoland.
So this show first aired on September 14th, 1991 on NBC in a block with the third season of Captain N. So at the time, NBC was reducing their Saturday morning children's content. The previous season was Super Mario Bros. 3, and that aired in a 1 hour block with Captain N. So it was a full half hour of each show. It was 2 10-minute Super Mario Bros. 3 shorts, and then they sandwiched a half-hour Captain N episode in the middle of those. But by this point, they had lost half an hour of that time slot. So Captain N and Mario were reduced to a single production with a 10-minute short each within that half-hour window.
Great.
They only produced 7 Captain N segments this season, and they made 13 Super Mario World ones, so some episodes are just 2 Mario segments.
Imagine that. It gets its own half-hour block.
I debated whether we should just watch the entire thing unaltered, like watch Mario and Captain N, but I thought, in the end, what I decided was that Captain N deserves better than that. So I chopped out the Captain N sequence for us to do a separate Captain N episode somewhere down the line where we look at that.
I've been dying to go back to Captain N.
Oh, we'll get there. The thing with Captain N is there's so much, like every single episode is a different game.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a hell of a lot for us to talk about.
Let's go back to it right now.
All right, well, let's cancel the rest of this episode.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about this one anymore. It wasn't that good.
All right, what did you think of the Captain N episode?
The best ever.
Yeah, I didn't watch it yet. Bye, everyone. I kind of feel sorry for Captain N because it got kind of shafted.
But it's such quality programming.
I know it's not even the headliner of this. Like Super
Not
Mario,
even the headliner of the Captain N Power Hour.
Super Mario World comes on first, and then sometimes Captain N follows, but not all the time. The Children's Television Act of 1990 went into effect during this season, meaning that the show had to contain more moral soapboxing than the previous Mario shows to meet guidelines.
That's what the children want with their Mario. Morals.
That's also why the Sonic Says segment in Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog existed.
I always forget that is a thing.
Yeah, so I don't know all the intricacies of it, but from what I understand, this act put into effect by Congress meant that TV channels had to commit to a certain amount of educational programming for children. It also meant that shows that were designed to sell a product, like things like G.I. Joe, anything that was based around a toy, wasn't allowed to show ads for that toy during the time slot of the show, which seems stupid to me. It's not like kids aren't going to know that it's a toy.
Right.
It was kind of a stupid idea. But what a lot of networks did to get around it is rather than commission more educational shows, they would just require these shows to contain social commentary or moral messages so that they could point to those and say, this is educational programming. We're telling kids at the end, in this 30-second segment at the end, we told kids not to smoke, so that means it's educational.
They learned one thing today. We can all go home.
It sounded like the Bush administration, who were in charge at the time, actually objected to the act because they thought it went against freedom of speech. And I kind of agree. I didn't think I'd agree with the Bush administration on anything, but
here we are.
Yeah. I think it's kind of a stupid act.
I think it's a very stupid act.
I think it comes from a well-intentioned place, but
it does. It comes from helicopter parenting.
Yes, and like with helicopter parenting, not everything that's well-intentioned is good. The show was animated by Pacific Rim Productions.
Cool.
No relation to the movie.
Dang it.
They're a Chinese studio. They apparently also worked on DuckTales the movie, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, Count Duckula, which is a show I loved growing up, a British show from the creators of Danger Mouse. They also worked on Goof Troop and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I would say that there is a noticeable drop in the animation quality compared to the previous Mario shows here.
Absolutely. There's a lot of off-model. There's a lot of jank.
Like, Mario 3 wasn't exactly stellar animation, but this makes it look better than it was.
Yeah.
The opening sequence, which is a lot nicer to look at, is animated by Canvas Inc., who don't seem to have done much. All I could find was a soccer show called Pro Stars and a bunch of straight-to-video movies called The Real Story of, and then like a nursery rhyme. So it's like Real Story of the Incy Wincy Spider and stuff.
That makes it sound like it's a crime documentary.
Yeah, it really does. Another one was The Real Story of Happy Birthday to You, and I was like, what do you mean? What's the story behind that? What else? Oh, Toad is gone.
Thank God.
Toad has been replaced by Yoshi.
Oh no.
So
who wished on that monkey's paw?
Toad doesn't appear at all in the game. I didn't realize that until now.
You are correct. I never noticed.
No, he's just not in Super Mario World at all. It's kind of weird to think about. Mario World was kind of my introduction to the Super Mario series, outside of the cartoons. But Toad, like I never didn't consider Toad to be one of the major characters.
Mm-hmm.
But it might be because we also had Mario All-Stars and Mario Kart around the same time, so...
That's true.
So it's not like Toad wasn't around on the Super Nintendo.
Toad had already been burned into the cultural memory.
Yeah, I guess so. All of the characters who appeared in both this and the Super Mario Bros. 3 show retain the same voice actors that they had in Mario 3.
Mm-hmm.
They are... I don't think any of them are the same actors from the Super show, though. Bowser, but he's not in this episode. The Koopalings also keep all of the same names that were created for them for the Super Mario Bros. 3 cartoon, which is kind of weird because their actual names would have been pretty well established by now, I would have thought.
It's too late to go back. They've done a whole Mario show using the wrong names.
I feel like they could have just switched.
It's too late.
I wouldn't have been mad if Cootie Pie was called Wendy in this episode. I don't even care if she was different before.
I just always forget her real name, so I saw her and I was like, oh, it's Cootie Pie.
Really?
Yep.
You're more familiar with Cootie Pie than you are with Wendy O. Cooper now?
There are too many Koopa kids. I don't know their names.
All right, hang on. How many can you name off the top of your head?
Probably like 3 or 4. Could I associate them with a picture? No.
All right.
I just know the names.
You list the names that you can remember, and I'll see if I can fill in the others from memory.
There's Iggy. There's Roy. There's Ludwig.
Yep.
That's it.
That's it? Okay.
That's it.
So that's 3 of them. You got almost half. Lemmy, Larry, Wendy, and Morton. That's it, yeah. I know my Koopa kids. I couldn't tell you what the show names for them all are, though.
No.
Wendy is Cootie Pie, and she's the only one who appeared in this episode. I don't remember the others. I think Ludwig is Kooky. Oh, I think Roy is Bully. Wasn't Morton like Big Mouth or something?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Mushmouth. Bad Owl Dirt. I just don't care about them. I've never bothered to learn their names. I see them in Mario Kart. I'm like, it's the pointy one.
People were so happy when they came back, though. I remember for a long time there were a lot of old Mario fans who really despised Bowser Jr. because they felt like he replaced the Koopalings.
I prefer Bowser Jr.
I also prefer Bowser Jr., but I don't dislike the Koopalings. I like Larry, I like Roy.
I don't dislike them. It's just they're kind of nothing to me, you know?
I understand. I mean, they were in what, like 2 games? They're in Mario 3 and Mario World, and then they kind of vanished for a long time. So we weren't exactly inundated with Koopa Kids content growing up. KKK.
If you will.
This episode is called Fire Sale. It's written by Brooks Wachtel. Wachtel. He wrote for Ghostbusters, DuckTales, She-Ra, Dinosaurs, Skeleton Warriors, The Mask, Spider-Man, X-Men, and like 100 other things. Mostly just between 1 and 4 episodes of each, though.
Mm-hmm.
This was not the intended first episode, but it was the first one that aired, and the intended first episode didn't do anything to establish the characters or setting either, so...
So, both poor choices. We might as well pick this one.
Yeah, that's the thing. There have been a couple instances where I've opted for us to not cover the first aired episode because the first intended episode does more to set up the world. But if the first intended episode doesn't set the world up at all anyway, then we might as well watch the first aired one.
Right.
I really like the opening sequence. It's really cute. It's really well animated. It sets some very high expectations for the actual show, which go unmet.
Yeah, it was the best part of the episode.
Yeah, Mario looks so cute in it.
What happened?
I don't know. The opening sequence is anime, basically. It's an anime opening. It's one of those cute, like, late 80s, early 90s anime. And I would love it if the show looked like this. but it doesn't.
We are not that lucky.
No. As with all the other Mario shows, music from the game is playing throughout the episode, and it uses sound effects from the game all the way through as well, and that's nice.
Yeah, uses a whole lot of dang sound effects.
The plot of the episode, knowing that they only made 13 episodes of this, I'm like, not only like, why did they lead with this garbage, but also like,
Why does it exist?
yeah, there's so much else they could have done. There's so many interesting stories you could take just from like the world of the game, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Just from looking at what's in the game.
It's not a good episode.
It's not a good episode. The episode opens in what they refer to as Iceland. I'm presuming it's supposed to be the Vanilla Dome, but I think the show probably didn't have access to the English game yet when they were making it. Because this only aired like a few months after the game came out. Or maybe not. I think it might have aired like the month after the game came out. I think the game came out maybe in August, and then the show started airing in September.
So did they just have like promotional art that they wrote an entire show from?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I saw that the promos for the show on TV were referring to the show as Super Mario Bros. 4, which was the like working title of the game. So I think they probably had a copy of the game to like play at to look at and like play. And I think they probably were looking at that for like stuff to use, but it was probably in Japanese.
Yeah.
The localization probably hadn't been done yet. So Wendy is very happy with her new ice palace, except she hates how cold it is.
I found this scene very relatable. She threw a full-blown tantrum because she was cold.
I want to be warm! I want heat! I want fire! I want it! I want it! I want it!
And I do that every day.
I reacted viscerally to this Koopa Trooper. I don't know about you.
I didn't like looking at it.
It's so ugly.
Yeah,
Koopa Troopers are cute.
they are.
I like Koopa Troopers.
They have big cute eyes and big round noses, and they're cutie pies.
This Koopa Trooper looks like a vulture in a turtle shell.
And half the time it doesn't even have its shell on, so it's just this weird little man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so there's a point where Wendy, or Cootie Pie, sorry,
Excuse you.
is jumping up and down on his shell, and he pops out and flies across the room in his boxes. That is a thing from the game.
Mm-hmm.
This was the first game where you could jump on a Koopa and it would pop out of the shell in its underwears. Run around trying to get its shell back on.
But in the games, it's cute.
Yeah. In the games, it's cute and funny. In this, it's disturbing. The Mario Brothers, Yoshi, and the princess are at some kind of indoor barbecue.
An indoor barbecue that has no fire with which to light.
Yeah, they say it's a barbecue, but I saw no sign of barbecuing happening.
Yeah, it looked like a lot of sweets and not a lot of meat, not a lot of vegetables.
No, it looked more like a canteen to me.
Yeah,
Like a cafeteria. And there's cave people everywhere.
I was very confused by the cave people.
Yes. There are no cave people in the game for anyone who hasn't played Super Mario World. I always got the impression that Dinosaur World was a world inhabited purely by dinosaurs.
Like Yoshi's Island.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, in the show it's just full of cave people. I guess they just saw that the show was gonna have to have dinosaurs. I guess they just saw that the game had dinosaurs. And then they just went, well, obviously there's cave people because the Flintstones.
You can't have dinosaurs without cave people.
No, everybody knows that they existed at the same time.
That's right.
We've all seen the Flintstones. We know about it. It's a
Dinosaurs
living.
only exist because of cave people.
Dinosaurs exist to be utilities for cave people.
I was fully expecting that ugly Koopa Troopa to pull out an "It's a living."
It didn't say anything.
No.
No, you know what's weird? This didn't actually occur to me until right now. There's all these cave people in the episode. I don't think we see a single dinosaur besides Yoshi.
I don't think we do.
I don't think there are any dinosaurs in this episode. And it's Dinosaur Land!
Maybe the later episodes are more dinosaur focused.
And there's a ton of dinosaurs in the opening, because the whole town's being trampled by random dinosaurs for no reason in the opening. They're not even dinosaurs from the game, they're just random dinosaurs.
Well, the game is about Mario stopping all the dinosaurs.
Are all the dinosaurs bad in the game? I guess most of them are. You know, I've never been clear on whether the dinosaur enemies work for Bowser or if they're just bystanders.
That's not established in the very deep lore.
No, we know for sure that the Koopas and Goombas work for Bowser. But we don't know if Rex does. We don't know if the Boos do, even.
I feel like the Boos just do their own thing. They work for King Boo, and Boo just tells them to go annoy people.
Yeah, I think King Boo has a tenuous alliance with Bowser in that helping Bowser amuses him.
Mm-hmm.
So he will lend booze to Bowser when he finds it convenient and funny.
I want a Mario game with no Bowser, and King Boo is the final villain.
So you want Luigi's Mansion, is what you're saying?
I never played the second or the third, so...
You should play the third one. You'd like it.
I know, I keep forgetting I own it, and now I can't play it because we have Pokemon.
Well, when we get tired of Pokemon, let's play Luigi's Mansion 3, because it has a multiplayer mode that I still need to do.
Fine.
Because I have 100%ed that game except the ghosts that you can only catch in multiplayer, and I do want to get them. Because that game, let me tell you, for me to have 100%ed a game in the 2020s means it was real damn good. Because I'm long past my days of 100%ing every game I own.
Yeah. I do love Mansion.
Like, half the games I buy now, even if I love them, half the time I finish the story and I move on. But Luigi's Mansion, I went back, I got all those gems on every floor. I captured every ghost. Just because I was enjoying it. And it's very cute. The cutscenes are very cute. I really like them.
I know. I liked the first one a lot, and then I never got the second, and then I forgot I owned the third.
I never finished the second one. I do love the second one because it introduced us to Polterpup.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started the third one, I was very happy to see that Polterpup is now just Luigi's pet dog.
Good.
I want Polterpup... I want them to make the Luigi's Mansion movie that Charlie Day said he wants to make, purely because I want them to introduce and establish Polterpup in the movie universe as Luigi's dog.
Yeah.
I also want Polterpup to show up outside of a Luigi's Mansion game. Acknowledge Luigi's dog.
We need a proper Paper Mario with a story, and then Paper Luigi can show up with Paper Polterpup.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Remember Paper Mario?
Don't get me started.
Anyway, back to this show.
Paper Mario!
Let's talk about Yoshi. He's the first character here who wasn't in Super Mario Bros. 3, so we should talk about who plays him.
Yoshi is insufferable.
Oh, Cucumber! Mama Fire Plant lives on the other side of the river. And I'm scared of water!
Yoshi is insufferable. So it may not surprise you to learn that he is played by our old friend Andrew Sabistan. Can you guess who else Andrew Sabistan played that we've talked about before?
What show?
If I tell you what show, you're going to know immediately.
You know I can't remember anything.
It's the show you always kept asking to go back to the most.
Is he Diddy Kong?
He's Diddy Kong.
No.
So he plays two insufferable characters within the greater Mario universe. Yes, Andrew Sabiston, who we talked about in our Donkey Kong Country episode as the voice of Diddy Kong.
The horrible, grating voice of Diddy Kong.
He's here as the horrible, grating voice of Yoshi.
I almost feel like I could forgive the voice if Yoshi wasn't just the worst character.
And it's such a shame because Yoshi was, like, at the time, Yoshi was my favorite in the games.
Yoshi's so cool. I love Yoshi.
Over the years, I've gone off Yoshi. I still love him, but he's not my favorite anymore. I think, like, as I have become older, I have found more relatability in your Luigis and your Bowsers and your Warios.
I found relatability in Dry Bones because life keeps stomping on you, but you keep getting up.
Wow. That's very deep.
Also, I just like that he's a skeleton turtle.
I found relatability in Chain Chomp.
You won, and you get nowhere.
So Yoshi's eaten up all the barbecue food, and as punishment, Luigi tells him that he has to go get more fireballs from Mama Fire Plant, because that's apparently the only place fire comes from in this world.
Right, they started a barbecue with no means of barbecuing the meat.
But, like, there were already hot dogs and burgers, apparently. Maybe they just used up all their fire already.
Maybe. Or maybe it's just a cheap plot device.
I mean, that's definitely what it is. Yoshi doesn't want to go see Mama Fire Plant because he's afraid of water and he would have to cross the river to get there. I don't know why he's afraid of water in this.
No.
I guess just because he's afraid of everything in this.
Because he's a whiny little loser.
In the game, Yoshi won't go into ghost houses or castles because he's afraid.
That makes sense.
But he'll go in the water stages just fine.
Maybe it's because they didn't have a ghost house or castle, and they were never going to. So they had to make him afraid of something.
There is definitely a ghost house episode, because it's the only episode I have memories of.
Okay.
I know there's a ghost house episode. So that's not the problem.
In a ghost house?
Yeah, I believe Yoshi is forced to go in the ghost house, but is afraid to go in there. Actually, you know what? I don't know if the game ever says that Yoshi stays out of the ghost house because he's afraid. Maybe I just think that he won't go in because he's afraid, because that's what the TV show told me when I was a kid.
I mean, maybe it's written in the booklet somewhere, but in the game, there are no words. You and Yoshi ride to the ghost house. Yoshi stays outside. You just assume it's because you're better off without him.
I mean, you're not, but... So Mama Fire Plant has a store in town where I guess she sells fire? Or
it's not clear.
You go to pick up fire. There's a neon sign over the entrance, but that's it. She seems to be a fire piranha plant in a wig.
I love her.
It's a bit of a strange choice because fire piranha plants weren't in Super Mario World. That's the Super Mario Bros. 3 thing.
It's an extremely strange choice. She has a southern accent and a wig. I think she's incredible.
Mama Fire Plant is played by Catherine Gallant, who was the voice of Cindy in Rock and Rule. She played Holly Wildwood in the Sylvanian Families cartoon.
It had a cartoon?
Apparently.
That sounds so precious.
She also played Hilda and Deputy Flo in The Busy World of Richard Scarry. Or Scary? I've never been clear.
I don't know. I just always called him Richard Scary.
He's pretty scary.
He's super scary. That worm?
Yeah, I wouldn't trust a worm that's driving around in an apple-shaped car.
Right, it's got one leg and no hands.
How did it get his license? So Cutie Pie and her mute Koopa show up to kidnap Mama Fire Plant. I wish the Koopa had lines, even just like small ones.
Yeah, it's just a back and forth between Cutie Pie and Mama Fire Plant, and it's not really interesting.
No, they just kidnap the plant. Yoshi shows up. He's afraid to cross the river. Eventually he falls in. The water isn't even ankle deep.
That doesn't mean anything.
It's like sole of the foot deep.
He's still scared.
Yeah, but it's like, that's not even a river. I would hesitate to call that a stream.
Right.
That's a
I would
leak.
call it a stream just because it's wide enough.
Okay, that's true. But when it's not, like, it doesn't even reach his ankles.
Yoshi is a whiny baby, and he spends 5 minutes tripping over his own feet to cross the bridge.
Yeah, even once he realizes that there's some trouble going down, he just falls off the bridge. I got very upset at one point because after Yoshi falls in the water, there's a shot where his snout is drawn as completely disconnected from his mouth, like it's a human nose.
I've seen that before. It's so good.
I really didn't like it.
I love it. For all the wrong reasons, but
Oh yeah, of course. So Yoshi arrives too late and he goes to get the Marios. Mario finds that there's a warp tube in the floor, and Luigi spends a while scooting around on some ice.
how did that ice get there? Ice doesn't exist in this world.
I love the thought process. Like, Luigi offers up a couple of perfectly reasonable explanations for why ice might be there. And Mario is like, there should never be ice anywhere. She's been kidnapped!
Sorry, big brother. I slipped on that melting ice.
Ice? Where'd that come from?
Mama Fire Plant was defrosting her freezer?
Mama Fireplant must have been kidnapped.
She's been kidnapped and taken to Iceland.
And then the princess explains the concept of ice to Yoshi.
Ice is frozen water. It's solid.
Is that the teaching moment?
Maybe it is. I don't think the act had quite gone into effect when this episode aired. I think it went into effect like a month later. So maybe they weren't worried about it yet. But, you know, Peach doesn't really do anything this episode other than explain things to Yoshi. I guess she's not called Peach, is she? She's Princess Toadstool right now.
To be fair, Yoshi needs a lot of explaining.
I loved this return of Jerk Mario. So we talked about it in the Super Mario Bros. 3 episode because there's a part that absolutely killed me.
Tell my daddy on you.
Don't forget to tell him about this.
And then fires a cannon. Remember that part?
No, but I believe you.
Here we have another instance of it, where Mario thinks that the kidnappers went down the pipe, and Luigi says,
Are you sure this will take us there?
and then Mario goes,
If I wasn't sure, would I do this?
and then just picks Luigi up and throws him down the pipe.
Like, yes, Mario, I'm pretty sure you would.
Like, it would have made more sense if Mario had hopped in the pipe himself after saying that. But no, he just like tosses Luigi down and then waits to see what happens.
Yeah. But it's okay. Luigi just falls to his death.
Yeah, so the heroes emerge in the sky and just start plummeting. They land on a couple platforms on the way down, I guess. But then Luigi's dangling from his arm over the edge of some blocks. Mario grabs him, and then some Paragoombas show up and attack. And Mario just kind of lets go. He plays it off as an accident, but the thing that got me here is that Luigi falls for a long time before Mario responds.
Mario!
Luigi!
Yes! We watch him plummet practically to the bottom before anyone does anything.
And then Mario just kind of moves on.
Well, that's that.
Well, time to get a new brother.
Well, I think the exact line is,
I'll Goomba them.
Yeah, he just goes back to fighting Paragoombas.
and like, he stomps all the Goombas, and then he dusts his hands like he's done, and I'm like, Luigi's still falling, Mario.
Luigi's dead, Mario!
But then everyone falls, and they land in a pipe that takes them to the... I guess it's the Vanilla Dome, but they keep calling it Iceland.
No, it's all slush.
It's all slush, and they find Luigi conveniently buried in the slush so that Mario can pretend he cared.
This was part of my plan all along, Luigi.
Yeah, Iceland is melting. Yoshi once again earned some hatred from me.
Oh, that means dum-de-dum-dum. Water!
I hated everything Yoshi did, but I did hate that part especially.
So Kuti is melting the entire world with her fireballs. She's just surrounded her throne with fireballs.
Yeah, one might think she's in danger the way she has it set up, but
I mean, she clearly is. The place collapses on her
it's
eventually.
true. It's melting.
Mama Fireplant says that the cave people are going to freeze without her, which seems a bit melodramatic. It didn't look that cold where they were.
It certainly doesn't look like anything less than a temperate region.
No, in fact, based on how the cave people are dressed, I would venture to say it's probably quite warm.
Yeah, since it's apparently taking place in the past, it's probably very warm.
I don't think it's taking place in the past. I think
They're in cave people times.
I think that's just a country. I think you're being culturally insensitive right now.
Sorry, cave people.
I think it's just a nearby country to the Mushroom Kingdom. This is where Cutie Pie name drops the episode.
I'll have a fire sale. I'll be rich.
It was so ham-fisted.
She looks at the camera when she says it. And then Mama Fireplant performs the Cutie Pie rap.
She sure does.
It's very long.
It's very long and it's very bad.
Cootie pie rap. People be cold unless they buy their fire from a creek called Cootie Pie. Cootie pie rap. Cootie pie rap. She doesn't care if you freeze like ice. She's one bad lady and she ain't very nice. Cootie pie rap. Cootie pie rap. Cootie pie, you're such trash. The two things you love are yourself and cash. Cootie pie rap. Cootie pie rap. She's got me trapped, oh my. I gotta get away from Cootie Pie. She thinks she's got me, but I think not. I'm gonna make this place get really hot. Cootie pie rap. Cootie pie rap. Cootie pie.
So this is their replacement for, remember in the Mario Super Show and the Super Mario Bros. 3 show, every episode had a cover song.
I had forgotten until the rap started playing.
Yeah, but by this point they had already discovered that led to them having to pay copyright royalties on reruns. So now they started writing original songs, which they didn't have to pay any royalties on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's an improvement.
I don't think it is.
I would prefer if they played Great Balls of Fire here.
And then had to replace it with stock music 20 years later.
Yeah, there is an episode that has Great Balls of Fire, I'm pretty sure. That's like the only licensed music I remember being in this show as a child.
It would make sense in this episode.
It would.
So of course it's not in it.
So when the song ends, the show gets like weirdly silent for a minute.
Cootie pie rap. Cootie pie.
And Mario, as he approaches Cutie Pie, his lips move like he's supposed to be saying something, but no sound comes out.
You just don't expect that from a show of this high quality.
And this is where he steps on a puff of fish and gets frozen?
I was very confused. I was like, is this an enemy I've forgotten about?
So I guess they're supposed to be porcupuffers, but porcupuffers are huge. These are really small.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the show presents this like characters freezing as though it's a game mechanic. Because it's presented like weirdly, you know, the characters freeze up and they flash blue.
They stung my porcupine fish. That means they won't be able to move until it wears off.
And you would think that's a reference to some kind of mechanic in the game. But it's not.
No.
This is made up for the show. I guess they just made up something that felt like a game mechanic.
I guess. A really weird Deus Ex Machina to force Yoshi to wade through some ankle-deep water.
Yeah, it really is just a plot device. They just made up a new game mechanic that's not in the game as a plot device. I feel like if you're a kid playing the game like alongside watching the show, you're like, oh, I can't find the secret ice level with the fish that freeze you.
Where is Mama Fire Plant?
They wouldn't put it in the show if it wasn't a stage, right? Nintendo?
Why would you lie to me, Nintendo?
Anyway, Mario steps on a pufferfish and freezes, and then Luigi and Peach copy him to be cool, I guess.
And stupidly do the exact same thing.
Yeah, the princess doing it is really bizarre.
She's supposed to be the brains of the operation.
Yeah. Yoshi's the only one who doesn't do it, despite being canonically the stupidest. But he's still too scared to walk in the water, and all the frozen ice is turning into water.
Oh no.
Cutie Pie just walks through it to get to him, showing us that, once again, this isn't even ankle-deep water. This is a little trickle that Yoshi's afraid to step in.
Like the river, it sets it up as this big dramatic moment where, like, the ice is melting and it's cracking apart, like it's gonna go out to sea and a river forms, and then Cutie Pie wades through it.
Yeah, like it's nothing.
Because it is nothing.
She walks through it to confront Yoshi, and she also steps on a porcupine fish.
It's so dumb.
So I feel like Yoshi didn't even get his moment, you know? They were setting Yoshi up for this moment where he faces his fear, but then, like, dumb luck, the villain steps on a fish.
Well, the real villain of this show is Water, and that's who Yoshi has to fight.
Does he do it, though?
Doesn't he have to cross to go get Mama Fire Plant?
I guess he probably does. Anyway, he grabs Mama Fire Plant and pushes her around like... What's that one ghost boss in Yoshi's Island?
Yoshi's Island. I can't remember, but I love that guy.
Is he just called the Potted Ghost?
That sounds correct.
Yeah, I think he might be. That's what it reminded me of, because Yoshi's pushing this part along, and as he's pushing, Mama Fire Plant picks up the Mario Brothers and the princess, and they all escape back to... Yeah, I don't know where they are.
Dinosaur Land.
I mean, I guess the whole place is Dinosaur Land, though. Like,
except the part that's Iceland.
No, they also say that's in Dinosaur Land.
Oh.
I would assume it's Yoshi's Island, but I'm sure they don't call it Yoshi's Island.
No.
It is called Dome City. That's not a place in the game.
There's a vanilla dome.
There is. From what I'm reading here, it sounds like the artists on the show misinterpreted the classic Mario hills as buildings, as dome-shaped buildings.
Oh.
Because, the backgrounds are full of those tall hills.
Uh-huh.
With the rounded tops.
Round hills.
Yeah, exactly. I've always understood them as being hills and mountains.
Yes.
But I guess the creators of this show thought they were the buildings that the cave people lived in. Oh, well. So now they're having a barbecue with Mama Fire Plant, and she's being, like, weirdly flirtatious with Yoshi.
But I think the hottest thing in Dome City is my little dino hero. Honey, you can light my fire anytime.
Yeah.
It was a little uncomfortable, I thought.
I think Yoshi was also uncomfortable.
I thought he was just eating and didn't notice. Too busy stuffing his face.
As usual.
Yeah, that's in character at least. The one thing they got right in this show is that Yoshi has a long tongue and eat thing.
The deepest part of his lore.
Was it, I think the princess wonders what became of Cutie Pie? And then we see back in Iceland that Cutie is trapped in a block of ice, which somebody has placed on the throne.
The Koopa.
Yeah, she's yelling to be freed from this ice block while the Koopa is relaxing in a hammock nearby, reading a copy of Crime Magazine.
I love that part with a picture of Bowser on it.
Yeah, that's his only appearance this episode.
That's a fun cameo. I like that for him.
And that's it. That's how it ends.
Wasn't that your favorite episode of anything ever?
I can safely say it was not.
Name one thing better.
A lumbar puncture. I've had one of those, so I know. Something I thought was interesting was the credits.
Because the credits are Captain N.
The credits are split between the two shows. So in the upper corners of the screen, there's the logo for each show. And if the credits on screen pertain to both shows, then both logos are there. But anytime, when the credits change, anytime it's stuff that only worked on the Mario segment, the Captain N logo disappears, and vice versa. So I thought that was interesting. That's more detail than most shows would give you about the credits.
Yeah, that's more effort than I would expect.
Yeah.
Usually they just lump them all together, and half the time these old cartoons don't even tell you who did what.
Yeah, exactly. So that was nice to see, I thought.
Yeah.
This is of all the three Mario shows, this is the one I remember being on TV the most in my childhood. I guess because it was the most current. Because I was a little bit too young for the Super Show and Mario 3. I do remember Mario 3 being on in reruns, but I mostly remember watching this one. Getting up early in the morning, watching Super Mario World, followed by Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, and then playing Super Mario World. Or Sonic 3, depending.
Mm-hmm.
I'm disappointed to find out that this is the worst one of the three that we've watched.
Easily the worst one.
Maybe later episodes are better, but I don't have high hopes for them being better.
No, because even with Super Mario 3, when the plot was completely cuckoo, at least it was still funny.
Yeah, this one really just didn't offer us much of anything.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Yoshi was considerably more annoying than Toad was. Because, Toad was annoying, but...
There's a difference in annoying, because Toad is like a grating kind of annoying for sure, but Yoshi is pathetic on top of being annoying.
Yeah, and the baby talk, I don't like the baby talk.
No.
Yeah, at least Toad spoke like an adult.
He's just a horrible little asshole, but that's kind of why we like him.
Yeah, and he saved Christmas.
And his snowboard.
He did the most generous act Santa had ever seen when he, for one moment, stopped talking about his own Christmas gift.
It really warms your heart.
Apparently, this episode is the only episode of Super Mario World that Cutie Pie appears in, and I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, she might appear in other ones actually, but this is the only one where she has a speaking role. Good riddance.
I like Cutie Pie in Mario 3.
I know, she was really funny in Mario 3. She's not funny in this one.
No.
She's just annoying. I wonder if it's just a difference in writer.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I wonder if there were any Super Mario World episodes written by Bruce and Reed Shelley. Because they wrote the other ones that we've watched, and they're the ones who are making us laugh. So
Yeah.
Bruce and Reed Shelley, where are you? Bring us
back.
Bring back the funnies.
Return the giggles to us, please.
No, there's none. I guess Bruce and Reed Shelley had left.
Rude.
In fact, it looks like the only episode they wrote of Super Mario Bros. 3 is the one we watched as well.
Well, now we have to watch more. We have to see if they took all the talent.
To see if Mario 3 had the same nosedive that Super Mario World had. Oh, it kind of looks like they only wrote the first episode of each show, actually. Except Super Mario World, which they didn't write any of. Anyway, I don't have too much to say about this. There's no legacy, because, this show didn't even get the names of the Koopalings right.
You're telling me that they didn't publish a few issues of Crime Magazine?
I don't know. Maybe this show was featured in Crime Magazine, because it's a pretty good example of one.
Crime against our eyeballs in 12 minutes of our time.
We'll come back. We'll look up more episodes of this and we'll see if there was any improvement in quality. I at least want to watch the Ghost episode, the Ghost House one. See some booze.
You know I want to watch every Ghost episode.
Yeah, of course. Well, sorry, Super Mario World fans. I'm sure we'll get a dislike on this video, at least one.
If it's any consolation, we love the game.
It's one of the best games in the world. Yeah, when I said Super Mario World fans, I specifically meant fans of the show, because you know they're out there.
Mm-hmm.
And every time we're overly critical of any show, we get at least one dislike. Usually we still end up with more. I don't think we've got a single episode that has more dislikes than likes. But they're the only ones where we get any dislikes are when we're critical. Sonic Underground, Bubsy.
That's what we do, though. That's what the show is. If you don't want us to be critical of it, don't write a bad show.
Oh, I don't think it's the writers of the show coming.
No, I'm not implying that it is.
Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. If you'd like to support this show, head on over to patreon.com/superbreakfastfriendsclub, where you can kick money at us and hear some outtakes from the show that I put there.
Secret words that you're not allowed to hear.
Unless you pay us.
And then maybe.
You can also support the show at coffee.com/superbreakfastfriendsclub. And you can come chat to us at Twitter at sbreakfastfc. I struggle with that name every week.
It's quite a name.
I have been Skull Pirate Mike.
I was Skull Pirate Mike once, but I gave that title to Mike.
And I appreciate it. You can find me at Twitch at Skull Pirate Mike, or on Twitter at Skull Pirate Mike, where I am debating closing my account.
Really?
Yeah, Elon Musk is really ruining that website. Bye. What a bad show. I'm so sad about it, because I love the theme song.
You could still love the theme song.
I know, I just wish it was attached to a better show.
I know.